Okay.
I had looked at my book, or came to some of the same conclusions about teacher preparedness, issues of induction, job satisfaction, and retention. And one always looks for, you know, hey, am I on the right track here? So this study was very welcome to me. I thought the fact that you had such an amazing rate of return was incredible. That such a large percentage of the alumni responded, it makes the study very, very welcome. I also, on a personal note, I have some doctoral students who are looking at teachers in day schools, and first thing I did when I read the study was I sent it on to them to read, and they found that the study would be useful for them. So I'm here as a researcher, and I had some research design questions. And I don't know how useful it's going to be to the rest of the group, but I took my task and my role and why I was asked to be on this panel seriously. So there are things about which I wanted to learn more, and I don't want to be in a position of making pronouncements knowing that maybe there's still questions I have. So any comments I'm going to make are going to be, I'm trying to do this in absolutely the most humble way possible. And maybe, I was reading it online, which I hate reading things online, but, and I may have missed things. So here's a question that I had, was what would happen if you disaggregate the data and you separated out the East Coast and the West Coast people? Might there be differences? I mean, how much does getting certification matter? How much does getting an MA at the end of the program matter? And how did that affect the various cohorts? Another question I had in terms of the data, when you ask questions about the DELIT folks' preparation, it was clustered, at least in the report, I think, into the Judaica and the pedagogy were clustered together, and you asked about their satisfaction. And I wondered, again, if you disaggregated the data and asked more specifically about the Judaica, what might you have learned? The questions on Judaica preparation seem to be around teaching Parshat HaShavua, although the curriculum in the program indicated that the DELIT students had coursework in Torah written large, which isn't the same, I think, as Parshat HaShavua, Tefillah, and holidays. So why did you ask about Parshat HaShavua and not the others? And maybe at some point you can answer that question for me. Then I also wondered what integration meant. Integration is central to the program. And Michael Zeldin is beaming. He's written about integration and interaction, and I've assigned that in my courses. So I'm wondering, what did you mean by integration? If it's content integration, what subjects? You could do Tefillah and science. You could do Jewish and general history. You could do Israel and general history. Or are you talking about skills integration or something else? And then I wondered if we could get data on what the primary duties of the alumni are. Is it that they're doing general studies with an infusion of Judaica, which I imagine that most of them are, or are there people just doing general studies? They've jumped into the general studies camp and they're really, you know, there's maybe a soupçon of Judaica, or are they doing Judaica studies only? And that's also a possibility. In terms of the future plans, you asked about the ones, what did you think, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years? And it seems to me, having done my study, there are the young people, the women who are in, the business of doing Jewish education, and they take a hiatus. And then they come back afterwards when their children are older. I've seen a lot of that. Or they come back because they're going to get scholarships for their kids. I also want to know, what does Jewish values mean to the designers, and what does it mean to the respondents? Same thing with leadership. On the one hand, sometimes people say that they feel like they're leaders, but then there's language that you use in the study, little opportunity for expanded responsibilities, small percentage see opportunities for professional development in their schools. So one of the things so I'll get to the important questions the study raises for me. About 50%, with all this attention to classroom application, don't expect to be in Jewish day schools, classrooms after 5 years. So this is a pretty sad story, and my book was considered, having to have a dismal ending. Somebody asked at JTS Press if they really wanted JTS to publish a book that had such an unhappy ending. So I have to say that one of mine did come back, which is why I asked the hiatus question. Teacher induction, newcomers are almost always invisible to the heads of their school. That was in my book too. And that hasn't changed. Even, I wrote my study in 2007. Only 52% agreed or strongly agreed that their schools attended to the needs of newcomers. I'm concerned quickly about Hebrew. Who will teach Hebrew in the liberal day school? Where will those teachers come from? I'm telling you, my school isn't making such a huge contribution to this field. We're getting very few. Who's going to do that? In the list of Jewish values, they say that learning ranks high, but Jewish study for themselves is not a compelling virtue. It's one of the lowest on their list of personal values. This reminds me of what we heard about MTEI. They may enjoy the experience while they're, mitten to rinin, while they're in the middle of it, but they're not transmitting it to their students, and that doesn't seem that they're keeping it as a living value for themselves. I wonder about teaching Israel. It's a huge research question for us in the field. And 71% of the students have been to Israel. But where are they learning to teach the complex realities of Israel? So I welcome the study. I think it's a terrific contribution to the field. And I feel like Oliver, I want more.